Welcome to my everything I knit in 2025, which I think is one of the most exciting knitting videos to film. I think it was like my third year of being a knitter. I think this year is my fourth year, but I'm not really sure because I learned to knit as a kid, like very basic, but I could always knit basically, but not like reading patterns and actually knitting the garments I'm knitting now. So who can say? So yeah, as I said, this is my video of everything I've knit in 2025. Every year I don't think I've knit like that much, but then seeing it all together, it's quite a bit. Also, if you don't know me, my name is Kim. I'm an illustrator based in the Netherlands, and yeah, what can I say? I just really like to knit. I also really like reading, drawing, painting, because, well, I am an illustrator. But basically, like all the cozy crafts I really enjoy, but especially knitting. I think I do tend to have like a lot of hobbies, and I kind of like switch between them here and there every few months or so, but knitting really is one that stayed. I know a lot of friends and family and my husband as well, when I started knitting, he probably thought like, oh my god, here we go again. He probably thought like, here we go again, here goes another hobby for like a few months and then it's something else again. But it really sticked, and it really did bring me so much, even though that may sound weird to like non-knitting people, but yeah, I love being a knitter, what can I say? So I don't think I can show you everything in like the order I knit them in, because I have a memory of like a goldfish, so that's not going to happen. But I do know the first project that I finished in 2025, so that's the one I'm going to show you first, I think. And it is the No Frill sweater. I will add in like try on bits, but yeah, this is, I don't know what's the back and the front. I really need to order like some labels, I think. Okay, this is the back. Yeah, this is the No Frill sweater by Petite Knit. And if you have been following me, like this is not the first video you've seen of me, I have knit this sweater so many times because I just think it's one of the most like best basic sweaters out there. I mean, there are a lot of like raglan knitting patterns, but this was the first one I knit and I stuck with it basically. So this is knit in a hand-dyed yarn held together with a mohair. The yarn is by Olivia and Oliver, and it is the Firring merino in the color eggnog, and I've held it together with the soft silk mohair by Knitting for Olive in the color oat. I think I saw the combination of these two yarns together at Molly Knits, I think, and I was obsessed. And I got a gift card for Olivia and Oliver for my birthday 2 years ago, I think. And so that's the yarn I got, and this sweater is so soft. Yeah, I did modify a few bits. As you can see, I did a double folded collar and I did twisted rib. And I did twisted rib for the cuffs as well and for the hem. And I did use Italian bind off on all edges. The only thing about the No Frill sweater is that I think the neckline is quite wide. And I think I've made it a little bit too short for my liking. I do knit all of my sweaters like quite cropped because I'm definitely more like a dresses kind of person instead of a trouser jeans kind of person. I do wear some trousers now here and there, but mainly dresses, and I do like my sweaters to be cropped because I don't like the look of like really long sweaters over dresses. So it is quite cropped, but I am thinking about adding a little bit of length to this sweater. But honestly, is this really something you are going to do like when it's finished you just don't want to touch it anymore. But yeah, I've worn this sweater so many times already, especially in summer, because in the evenings I really like putting a sweater like this just in my bag, and when it gets cold in the evening I wear this as like a coat or jacket. And yeah, it goes with pretty much everything. I love it, and I think the yarn is so pretty. Also, I forgot to mention, but this was my honeymoon cast on and like honeymoon project. I've mentioned this in like every video I make, if you like, but I went on honeymoon to Scotland last December, like not in 2025 but the year before, and we like celebrated the new year over there. So this was my project that I took with me, and I do think I finished like the yoke and almost 2 sleeves on my trip, so I did quite a bit of knitting. So yes, I really love this. It's also so soft, and it's a shame that hand-dyed yarn is like so expensive. I mean, I do get it, but I wish I could only make like hand-dyed yarn sweaters, but yeah. Anyway, I wanted to like show you all of my sweaters first, but I think I'm going to show you these first because these were my other like honeymoon projects. Just a basic sock. I didn't knit as many socks as I thought I had, or as I would like to spell, but these are a pair that I did knit at the beginning of the year, like the first pair of socks. I do not remember the yarn. I think it's called Mista Barista, but I don't remember the like dyer. I will try to like look up everything, like all the information, and put it in the description, by the way. But yeah, just a basic sock. I basically always do 64 stitches, a double folded cuff, mostly twisted rib, a shadow wrap heel, and then I don't know what this toe is called, but it's the one I learned and I never did any other one. So yeah, and actually I feel ashamed to say this, but I just weaved in the ends like 2 days ago. So I can finally wear them after a year of finishing them. I don't know what it is, but like weaving in ends, I just really don't like it. Even though once I start doing it, I really don't mind, but it's just like starting weaving in the ends, I don't know. But yeah, that's my first pair of socks of 2025. And I think I got the yarn at Stephen and Penelope. Like most of my hand-dyed yarn for socks is by Stephen and Penelope. So I will look it up, but I'm pretty sure that I got it there. Yeah, I really do like this yarn. Like imagine a sweater in this yarn. Oh. Okay, on to the next project. What am I going to... Okay, yeah. So this is quite the sweater, and I don't think I can show you this really well because it's dark yarn and it's quite big, but I will add in some pictures as well of me wearing it. This is the Winter's Pullover by Ozetta. And oh, by the way, size wise, I am mostly a size L by XL. I have quite a bigger bust, so I often pick like sizes that has like a finished measurement of like 120 centimeters, so that gives me plenty of positive ease. However, I think I knit like a size small with this one because the positive ease was like, it was so much, and I wanted to have like a big oversized sweater, but I remember thinking like the positive ease that was recommended was a little bit too much for me. I also don't like it when the sleeves are like really low, so when you wear a coat it like bunches up under your armpit. I don't like that feeling. I mean, it's still really oversized, but I do really like it. I think this is one of my like most worn knits of 2025, and I do remember finishing it just before like spring, so I couldn't wear it really because it was just too warm. But once it got colder, I've worn this so much already. So It's quite long as well, which I do really like. Yeah, as I said previously, I do love to wear my dresses, so I tend to crop all of my sweaters basically. So it's nice to have some sweaters that are a bit longer. So yeah, and this is knit with lettlopi in, I don't remember the color, but I will look it up. And then it's held together with a mohair by Knitting for Olive, and I think it was called Liquorish. I don't know if they got like any new colors, because I remember it was kind of hard to find like a grey, dark grey mohair that matched the yarn I had bought for this. And I remember the yarn coming in after I ordered it, and I remember the yarn arriving and me kind of being disappointed because it was quite a lot darker than the lettlopi yarn. So I didn't start with this sweater for the longest time. I think I had the yarn laying around for like 2 years or something. But one day I decided to just go for it, and I actually do really like the combination. Yeah, I still need to learn sometimes that mohair doesn't need to match exactly. That said, sometimes it looks even better when they're like a little bit different, because it creates like a beautiful depth. So yeah, my winter's pullover by Ozetta. I also don't find this really scratchy, and I also feel like it does really get softer by wear. I only washed it twice, and it also did get softer by washing, but still it is like a really rustic yarn. Sometimes when I'm wearing this sweater and like a friend or my husband hugs me and they're all like, oh, itchy, but I don't really find it itchy, even though it is like itchier than some of my sweaters. I have like this shawl made in lettlopi, I think it's called, and it is so much softer. So maybe it's like the mohair, but I don't know. It is one of my most scratchy, itchy sweaters, even though I don't find it really itchy. I do think sometimes I am a bit sensitive to mohair, because I often get like a really itchy nose, and sometimes my nose gets stuffy as well. So will it stop me from knitting with mohair? Absolutely not, but anyway, yeah, this is my winter's pullover. Sometimes I do find it really hard to like remember when I knit things, and every year I think my one New Year resolution is like putting everything in Ravelry in like my projects, but I always forget. I know that Marlene knits. Yeah, I don't know, I feel like I talk about her a lot, but I know she has like the most organized Ravelry page, and with all her projects and like really pretty pictures, and she's like my Ravelry inspiration. Honestly, inspiration in general, because I really do like her videos and just things she makes and her way of like carrying herself, if that sounds weird, I don't know, but yeah, very, very inspiring. So didn't know where I was going with that. Ravelry, yeah, maybe this year, one day. So next one. Okay, by now there's like no order in which I knit these, but this is the staffin sweater by the creabea. And even though I really like this, I have not worn it once yet, which is a shame. I don't know if it is the color. Even though like looking into the viewfinder, it doesn't look too bad, I think. Hold on, someone is like shoveling snow. I don't know if you can hear that. I did buy this yarn with another goal in mind, which was the Moreland shawl I wanted to knit for my wedding, and I did end up knitting it, but not with this yarn. I ended up not liking this yarn at all for the project, and the longer I knit, the more I feel like I know what kind of yarns I like, and I do know that I do like my rustic yarns, and this is just, as you can see, not rustic, which makes it perfect for a sweater like this. I just looked it up before I started to film. It is called, oh, I don't know how to pronounce this, the rerum, natura. Anyway, I know the yarn I used is called gilliatt, and The color is probably something like oat, but I'm not sure anymore. I will look it up again. At first I started knitting the Moreland shawl with it, but I just didn't like how it looked. So I ended up knitting the staffin sweater with it. And oh, it's where I weaved in ends. I thought it was like a hole there, but I also did block it, but these bits do tend to like bunch in a little bit. But yeah, as you can see, the stitch definition is really amazing, and I think it's honestly the perfect yarn for this sweater. Also a great yarn if you don't really like the feeling of wool, or if you don't like rustic yarns, because it is not itchy at all. I do think it feels a little bit dry, but like that's not an issue at all. Like it's just a me problem. So I think I knit the size L or XL. I often pick the size where like the finished bust measurement is like 120 centimeters, something around that. I can go a bit lower, but I don't know, 120 centimeters just always feels safe. Even though sometimes my sweaters do turn out a little bit bigger than I want them to, but yeah. And I also knit this one quite cropped. I did have a whole ball yarn left, so I don't know, I could make it longer, but I didn't. And honestly, I don't know why I haven't worn this yet, because again, looking at it, it's just a really pretty sweater. Oh, I keep sneezing. Last year I knit a lot of sweaters in like my favorite colors, basically all of the like earthy tones, like ochre yellow, brown, green a lot. Again, my favorite colors. And then this year I realized that I didn't have like as many sweaters in like a neutral color, so I did knit a lot of sweaters very boring colors, especially compared to like last year. And I still don't know if I look good in colors like this, because I am really pale, but I do like the colors. So yeah, that's the staffin sweater. Also, I'm in my very cozy pajamas. Okay, on to the next one. And while we're on the creabea train, I will show you my next sweater, which is the kintra sweater. Okay, camera stopped filming. I'm back. Yeah, as I said, this is the kintra sweater by the creabea again, by Rebecca. And this sweater was quite a journey. So when I started knitting, I had no clue about like yarns and like how much yarn you need for knitting a sweater, or what kind of things I like to knit. If I'm like a sweater knitter, or hats, or mittens, or socks, like I had no clue. So when I just started and like I bought my like first pair of my knicker needles I still really love using, I did buy a lot of yarn, or like I ordered a lot of yarn that I still have, because it's just like 2 balls of this color and 2 balls of another color, another base. Like it's not the same bases. So I have a lot of scraps that I bought as scraps basically. And so when this pattern came out, I thought it would be the best sweater for those yarns. And I mean, I still have them all left. Like it barely took any yarn, but I did use them, so that makes me feel better. So I don't really know like what all of these colors are. Also the white yarn is West Yorkshire Spinners colourlab DK, I think, and then the color white. I do really like the yarns by West Yorkshire Spinners, but I do think this is my like least favorite yarn, because I don't know if it is superwash, but it does feel really superwashy, I think. Well, it's not too bad, but I am knitting a sweater in another like West Yorkshire Spinner base now, and it feels like 100 times better. It's just not as rustic. I think that's what it is. And as I said, I do like my rustic yarns. But this sweater, very long story short, I forgot to change needles when I did the ribbing. So I did all of the color work in like a smaller needle. So it is a bit tight. Like I do still fit it quite well, but it is not the fit that this sweater was like designed in, if that makes sense. So I don't wear this too much, but I also have worn it a few times. But I think because I did mess up, I tend to not wear it as much as I hoped I would. But I might knit it again actually, because I do think it's like a really good sweater to get rid of your scraps and also turn it into a beautiful sweater. Normally I'm not the biggest fan of like circular yokes, but it does have raglan stitches in the pattern. I did many more than the pattern suggested because I was so off gauge after like my big mistake. So I just looked up like different raglan patterns and just followed them besides this one. So it's a bit of a weird one, but I do love it still. But it was a journey. Like once I found out that I did the color work in the wrong needle, I just lost all of my motivation to finish this sweater. Also, one thing I didn't really like about it is the way you can see like how all the ends are woven in. But to be quite honest with you, I don't think it's like that noticeable anymore. I think this is like the beginning of round where you switch colors, so like it's kind of the if you know you know thing, but it's not too bad actually. What I ended up doing is after finishing the color work, I didn't want to like switch needles in the middle of doing the color work. That's just always what I do. If I make a mistake, I just pretend it was like not a mistake and I did it on purpose. But yeah, I just finished the color work in like the smaller needle, and then I switched needles after finishing the color work and knit the sweater on like the right needle. So the only thing that's like off about the sweater is like this bit, but also obviously this was a lot shorter than it had to be because I used the wrong needle. So yeah, it was a lot of figuring things out with this one, but in the end I do like how it turned out. And I also did make it a bit longer than I usually would, so I can wear it on trousers as well. And yeah, my kintra sweater. And I do really like Rebecca's patterns. Like she is amazing at designing, I think. And also just the way she built up her like designing skills and just her business basically. I think she's doing really amazing. And yeah, so my kintra sweater. Then we're going on to another no frill sweater. Yeah, I just knit a lot of basics this year, I think. I mean, not all, but some. It smells really nice. It smells of perfume. But this is also a basic raglan sweater. By now I've knit so many raglan sweaters that I don't really have to use a pattern anymore, but I do use the No Frill sweater by Petite Knits as like a guide, if you will. So it is the No Frill sweater, but also yeah, I did not look at the pattern too many times, but I did a 2x2 rib on all the cuffs and hem and stuff. I did a really deep yoke and then made it quite cropped. Yeah, it is really oversized, but this sweater is one of my favorite ones to wear like over dresses because it is like that cropped and like flowy. The yarn I used is the yarn that Fibertales sells like once or twice a year. I know her parents have a flock of Gotland sheep, like the sheep with the little curls, and they have like really long staples. Like the yarn or like the wool has like really long staples, so it makes a really fluffy yarn. I also think it looks like it has mohair in it, but it doesn't. I just held the yarn double because it was like fingering weight. I do think I could knit it on like a bigger needle because I think I knit it on a size 4 needle, but I definitely could do with 4.5 or maybe even 5 because it is quite stiff. But I do like that because it makes it like a really strong and warm sweater. But yeah, I really like the yarn. I did buy the yarn like around my birthday like 3 years ago or something, and it was one of the first times that I spent like a big amount of money on yarn, so it just was laying around for the longest time because I just did not know what to knit with it, because I felt like it had to be like something special. But at the end I just wanted to knit it up and like knit it in something that I will wear a lot. And as boring as it sounds to some people maybe, I'm just a big fan of like raglan sweaters, so why not turn it into a raglan sweater? So that's what I did. And as I said, I do have many raglan sweaters, but I still think they're like all different. So yeah, another sweater. It smells really nice. One thing, I did run out of yarn, by the way. I think like a few centimeters before the ribbing. Also my hair is quite a mess today, I'm sorry. But in my stash I had some Rauma Fino, I think, in like this grey color. And I ended up holding it together with the tiny bit I had left of this yarn. Because I held it together, I just at one point stopped and yeah, I held one strand of the fibertales yarn and then one strand of the Fino yarn by Rauma. And you cannot tell, I think. Like, can you tell that I used a different yarn from this point on? Because I don't see it. So if you do want the same yarn but like a little bit more affordable, even though like it's definitely worth it, but I do think the yarn Fibertales creates is different every time, because you have to mix another sheep breed with Scotland, because the staples are so long. The machines that are spinning it do need like another fiber with it. So yeah, it's different every time. And sometimes she does DK weight, sometimes she does fingering. It doesn't get more local than that because they are her parent sheep. So I really do love this sweater. And yeah, on to the next project. Okay, I have 2 sweaters left, so I think I'm going to show you a not sweater kind of project. I finished my first summery summer knit, and I did talk about this in a few podcast episodes, I think, but this was also quite a journey, like little story time. But I had to go to the doctor's and then I had therapy like later that day, but I didn't want to like go back home and then leave again, so I stayed in town and like went to get a coffee and things like that. But I really felt like starting a new project, so I went to Sostraine, I think it's called, and I got myself some cotton. I got some DPNs and I cast on the Allure camisole, I think it's called. Again, putting everything in the description. But and yeah, you just start by knitting like 4 cups and then you end up joining them together and like making the I-cord straps. Easy. But I don't know if I was off gauge or if it's the pattern, I have no clue, but it ended up being so big. Like at one point I had like all 4 cups joined. I was knitting in a round, and then at one point I thought like I want to do like these straps first, so when I finish the body it's like all finished. So I tried it on and I had like this much of positive ease, like I'm not kidding. It was like double my size. Which also feels a bit dumb because I just kept knitting on it and never did I think, oh, maybe it's a little bit too big. But yeah, that's what I mean with picking sizes. Sometimes I still don't really know what size to pick for my body that will fit right, because obviously this has some positive ease as well, but I think if you pick a size with a lot of positive ease with designs like these, it will just not fit right on your body, at least not on mine. So I ended up ripping it all back and also ripping like every cup back for like I think 5 sizes smaller or something. I think I did like the smaller size in the end, which I don't think I would fit, but I did. And yeah, knit it up again, and this is now what it is. I just finished this like 2 weeks ago, I think. Not the time to finish this because it just started snowing like this week. But I just wanted to finish it. I did not want to like bring as many projects into the next year as I did last year. So I finished it just before the new year and it feels nice to have it finished. I don't think I will do a try on with this one because I do not want to wear something when it's this cold. So I will just hold it up to you. Yeah, it's basically like a really simple pattern, and I do think if you've never knit like a summery thing before, then this is a great pattern. There are some things that I don't really like, and I think if I want to knit like a camisole kind of thingy again one day, then I will pick a pattern that has I-cords on the edge, because I do not really like the way the edges look, especially when they are like joined together. You can just tell, I think. Besides, I knit it with 100% cotton, so it will always be a lot more like noticeable when you knit it with cotton, obviously. I mean, I do not want to knit this with a wool. I do not want to wear like 100% wool top in summer, even though it can keep you cool, I know, but like cotton just feels a bit more summery. So yeah. I haven't worn it yet because I just finished it, but I think when like the weather is like really hot, this will be something I will get quite a lot of wear out of. Yeah, so the little cardigan, I keep saying cardigan, camisole, there we go. Okay, we have basically 3 garments left that I have here. I also did some gift knits that I don't have here anymore, like obviously, but I did knit the Maggie cardigan for a friend of mine. I might like ask her for some pictures of it so I can show you, hopefully. But I knit it in a size S, I think. I used the Drops Flora and their soft silk mohair, and it's such a stunning pattern. I remember doing the first few like steps and I had no clue what I was doing, but once it like came together and I realized like how the construction was like working, I was in awe. So beautiful pattern. I will knit it for myself one day, I think. I will knit it with longer sleeves because my friend really wanted like a 3/4 sleeve cardigan. I think it looks beautiful, but I don't think it's something that I will wear personally because I'm like too hot or too cold, and a 3/4 sleeve, I don't know, I just don't think it works for me. So yeah, but it's such a stunning pattern, and I knit it in like this cream beige color and it just looks really beautiful on her as well. So that's something I've also knit, just wanted to mention that. And then I also did a sample knit for a friend of mine, Femke. She is the dyer of the Mindful Creators and she was looking for sample knitters, so I applied and I got picked. So I ended up knitting the Doppio sweater in like 2 different bases from her, holding 3 strands together, which you ended up using like 6 hand-dyed skeins for, I think, for a whole sweater, which I think was quite nice. And I really liked like how many combinations you could do, because you can like pick all the different colors or like the same or like mix, and it was really fun to knit. I did knit it too short, sadly. I still don't really like know how to measure things. It never goes right, to be honest. Like sometimes I measure something up and I'm like, oh, it's like way too short, and I keep knitting and then it ends up being way too long, or it goes the other way, and sadly it did go the other way. So I did promise her to add some length for her when I have the time, but that will be fine. Such beautiful colors she picked as well, because I am definitely like a earthy tones kind of girly, and she picked the most like out there colors for me. I think it was like a blue with like a purple-ish base and then like mixed together. But the longer I knit on it, the more I thought, oh, I need a sweater in this color, and that's something that I would never say. So I think that describes how beautiful the yarn is. I will try and add some length, but we don't live really close to each other, so, and I don't want her to like have to send me the sweater again and like pay for her sending it back. I feel bad enough for it being like too short, so yeah, but I did really enjoy finishing that, even though looking back I did not have the time to to knit it. Like it was just before going on holiday, so, and I ended up finishing it before I went on holiday, but it was all like so last minute. And on one hand I actually did some good planning, because I went away for a week, and when I came back I still had like a week to like fully finish it. So my plan was to like block it while I was on holiday, and then when I came back it would be like finished. But then I texted her that I was done, and she was like, can you send me the sweater? And I was like, sure. So yeah, I did not manage to like check like all the measurements and stuff, so I did feel a bit bad about that. But yeah, on to things that I do have here. Actually no, I am going to continue on the gift knit train, because I have two things here that will be gifted away very soon, but I haven't gifted them yet. The first one is this. I didn't weave in the end yet. The first one is the fat fur hat, and this is such an amazing pattern. I just talked about it in my like previous episode. Yeah, long story short, the friend I knit the Maggie cardigan for, she really wanted to learn like how to knit, and I thought about like a first knitting pattern, and you know, it's hard because I think in the end like everything can be a first knitting pattern, but then I thought like a hat, so maybe a hat where you just have to knit in a round. So I thought like maybe the Oslo hat or some petite knit pattern basically. And then she found a pattern herself on TikTok, which was this big fur, fat fur hat I think it's called. And it's just, you basically knit like a really long tube, and then you fold it in and like fold around these edges, and then you have a hat, and you knit it with a mohair, and you end up like brushing it so it gets like really fluffy, hence why the name fat fur hat. And this one is for my sister. She likes to wear her hats like above the ear, and she does have quite a small head, so a lot of hats tend to be too big for her, or too big for the way she wants to wear them. And we recently went to Amsterdam together, and of course I had to stop by Stephen and Penelope, and then she saw this hand-dyed mohair, and so she bought the mohair and I turned it into a hat for her. So I knit the smaller size, I think. Yeah, I'm sure I knit the smaller size. And yeah, I'm really curious to see like how she will like this hat, and I hope it fits her right, because it's so hard to knit for others and not try it on while knitting it. But yeah, and I also made another one for myself, and I did knit this one in drops Flora and soft silk mohair, also by Drops. They were kind of like scraps from the Maggie cardigan I did for my friend, and I also gave her some scraps of that cardigan to knit the hat in this color as well. So basically we're matching now, even though I'm not quite sure if I'm a hat kind of person, but I did want to knit this pattern as well after seeing her knit it, and I can show you how it's like constructed. It's just a really big tube with like decreases at each end, and I do think that's such a fun construction. Really nice beginner friendly pattern as well, and because it has like multiple layers, it is really warm. So I think I'm going to try and brush mine a little bit more so it gets fluffier. And if I ever knit this pattern again, then I will knit it in a mohair only, because I think the original pattern does suggest using mohair, but also like a yarn with alpaca, which the Drops Flora is. but I think you can tell the difference. You barely see the stitches anymore on this one, and especially like on the cuff or like brim, I think it's called, you can see the stitches really well, and I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I wear it, but we'll see. And then the last gift knit I have over here is a Sophie shawl. I knit this for my mom. My mom is absolutely obsessed with this color, and this is the brushed alpaca silk, it's called. It's really soft, but it's a really thin yarn, so I did knit according to pattern, but I did use a smaller needle because it is a really thin yarn. I think the recommended needle was 5mm, but yeah, I did knit it on 4.5, I think. So it is quite long, but it is not like as wide as the like original Sophie scarf. But my mom doesn't know that, so yeah, I think she will be really happy with this, and I am seeing her next week, so I'm really excited to finally gift it to her. And you know, I know there's like a lot of talk about the Sophie scarf, and it is a really simple pattern, but I do like it. I keep coming back to them, and it's just the kind of shawl that I like to wear, so I will keep knitting them. I'm not the biggest fan of the Sophie scarf, I think. I don't know if I'm a Sophie scarf kind of person, but the Sophie shawl, however, I love. I also made one, like a really big one in lettlopi, like the lettlopi's big sister, from scraps, and it's the shawl that I wear pretty much every day. So, and also I don't remember if I knit that last year or this year. I might get it, hold up. So I had some yarn left from knitting the Molen shawl, because the lettlopi is the yarn I ended up using for the Molen shawl, and I had quite a few balls left, so I just turned it into a Sophie shawl, and I wear this every time. Like, I do have multiple shawls, but this is just my favorite one. Hi! Hi, Altie. Where's the bed? Come on. My dog wants to join, by the way. So, here she is. Oh, we're not really matchy in a nice way. So yeah, just showing you this really quickly. And something I do like about this pattern is that you can knit it pretty much in like every kind of yarn, and also use up scraps. You just weight the yarn, and then when you're halfway, or like little less than halfway, you just do the decreases, and you end up using all your scraps, which I did for this shawl. I do think I knit it this year, but I cannot remember for the life of me, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, and also this yarn is like so fluffy that it almost feels like it has mohair in it as well. But like, I was really hesitant if I did knit this with mohair, but I didn't. So yeah, and now this little lady is here. I also knit her something this year. I knit her a sweater for her birthday every year ever since she got her. And she turned 2 in December. So I knit her a sweater. How am I going to show you this? So this is a sweater. It is a free pattern by Drops, but I always really modify the patterns. So, but I used one by Drops as like the base pattern. I think it was like the Good Girl sweater. But I did, as I said, modify it quite a bit, especially the end of the sweater, because I do like doing German short rows, so the back is longer and like rounded. And I think the pattern included like a technique to do that as well, but it was really weird. You had to like break the yarn, or I don't know what it was, but I didn't do that. I just did German short rows. So yeah, and she really likes wearing sweaters. I always said that putting sweaters on I always said that putting sweaters on a dog was something I would never do, but here we are. So I don't know if you can tell, but it's like a bit rounded here, so it's longer on her back. Yay. Here is the try on by Otti. Like, look. Okay, good. So yeah, needed to show that one as well. And I think that's a good way to go to my next knit, because the yarn I use for the sweater is a scrap of a bigger sweater I knit. A lot bigger, because I knit my husband a sweater. His first one. We've been together for 11 years and I've been a knitter for 3 or 4 years, I don't remember exactly, but I finally knit him a sweater. I was still together, so the boyfriend curse. It is early though, so I will keep you updated. Ozzy. But this is called the Northern Sweater by Petite Knit. Ozzy is still on my lap, by the way, so it is a bit hard showing, but can you see it? Me boy? So basically Otti and my husband are now matching, and I feel so left out, even though it's something that I did myself. I want to match too. But yeah, as I said, this is called the Northern Sweater by Petite Knit. I think I knit the second or third from the bigger size. I think I will put it in the description as well, because my husband is like really tall. He's like 2 meter something, so I always put off knitting a sweater for him because I knew it would be a true labor of love. But he turned 35 this year and I just wanted to knit him a sweater. It was time, like we were almost 1 year married, like husband and wife, so I decided to be a good wife. Even though I always do really like petite knit designs, I do not knit too many petite knit designs normally, but this year was quite a petite knit heavy year, I think. But I am excited to get back to like more smaller indie designer kind of designers this year. But the sizing I think is a little bit off because I am on gauge, but I don't know if you can tell, but that shoulder is so low. And I was really afraid that when he would like lift up his arms, like the whole sweater would go with him. But I ended up blocking it since like last showing you, and it did get a little bit longer. I remember trying it on and it was so big, and I didn't even like start with like knitting the sleeves, and the sleeves were coming up like here. But obviously like my shoulders aren't as like big as his. Not that he has like really big shoulders, but like I'm not a man, you know. So I did worry quite a bit when knitting this sweater, but it ended up being alright and I ended up really liking it. So I will try to add some try on bits, because he wore this straight away on his birthday and we went for a walk. It wasn't blocked yet and it was a bit like scrunched up in the wrapping paper, so keep that in mind. And the yarn is called, I think it's Charisma or Alaska. I don't know, you have like 2 yarns by Drops that are like really close to each other, but one yarn is thicker and I used thicker yarn, and the color is called olive green. But as I said in my previous episode, I don't think this is olive green. This is not olive green to me, like the sweater I'm wearing, that's olive green, but it's still a really pretty color, I think. But yeah, that is what you get when you order Drops yarn online. I don't really use Drops yarn often. I tend to use it for gifts mostly, but that's about it. And then sometimes I will use the scraps to create something for myself, but I will not really buy Drops yarn for a sweater for myself most likely. Nothing against Drops, but I just do like my rustic yarns, and yeah, it's not my type of yarn basically. Also, and I ended up knitting this in like a month or so. Like, I started way too late. And yeah, I had to knit my little heart out. But I did manage to finish it in time, like just the evening before. So yay. Okay, now we're going a little bit back in time, because when I knit the sample knit for a friend of mine, I went on holiday, and this was my holiday project, which is the lentil sweater. And the lentil sweater is a sweater that I have been wanting to make for quite a while. It's like a really loose gauge sweater, so I think when spring will come around, or when autumn starts, but it's like not really like that hot yet, this will be the perfect sweater. Also to like throw in your bag, because like it doesn't take up any space, because it barely takes any yarn, I think. So what I use for this sweater is 3 balls of mohair and 2 skeins of hand-dyed yarn, which I think is crazy. And knowing that I can knit a sweater with 2 skeins of hand-dyed yarn is not a nice thought in my head, because every time I now see hand-dyed yarn, I keep thinking, oh my god, I only need 2 for a sweater. And it's still expensive to make a hand-dyed yarn kind of sweater. Even though it's 2 skeins, it is a lot cheaper than most sweater quantities that you will need, but still, you also need the mohair. So the hand-dyed yarn is dyed by a yarn store that is one of my favorites. It's based in Utrecht and it's called Sticks and Cuts, and they did dye the yarn themselves, and I don't remember the base exactly, or like the color name. I do know it has like hemp in it, so it's like a linen wool something mix, and I paired it with a mohair by Knitting for Olive in the color Bark, and it's just a stunning color. I did knit quite a smaller size than I would usually do, because I was scared I would lose yarn chicken, and I kind of wish I picked just one size bigger, because it fits, but I do like my sweaters to be just a bit oversized. So maybe it's something that I just need to like get used to, but I do think the color is stunning. I haven't worn it yet because I finished it after holiday, and basically the moment we came back from a holiday, the autumnal weather just started, and every time seasons change, especially from warmer weather to like colder weather, I get so cold. So I pretty much wore my winter pullover by Ozetta that I showed you in the beginning of the video, like just every day, and this was way too cold for my liking. So I am excited for spring, and especially autumn, by the way, because I do think this is like a very autumnal sweater. Yeah, and I always do the double folded cuff if I can, because I just like it way better. And besides, I don't really know what else to say about this. Another raglan sweater, basically. Oh, Ottie went to lay down finally. But yeah, I really enjoyed working on this, and yeah, using hand-dyed yarn for sweaters is just something else. So, and I had a gift card for the shop, and I also was with a friend of mine who told me I could pick out a skein for my birthday, so it's pretty much free. I ended up having to pay like I think 20 euros or something, so girl math, I made a sweater for 20 euros. Yeah. And then on to the last garment of the year, still joined by Ottie. Hold up, wel welke thee, mag dat? The last thing I did last year is a vest. So this is the vest number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and it was my first time knitting a vest. I had no clue if I was like a vest kind of person, because they do remind me of being like a child and like not wanting to wear a vest. I don't know what it is, but I have like a very vague memory of our mom trying to put a vest on us and me not wanting to. Here we are knitting one. But yeah, I just didn't know if I was a vest kind of person. I do always really like them on other people, but I wanted to give it a go, and I had like a big cone of Holst Super Soft standing around, like waiting to be knit up basically. So I ended up using that yarn and like holding it double, and I still have a lot of yarn left, by the way. I think I could knit another vest, which is crazy. A cone really goes a long way, but I ended up really liking wearing a vest. I've worn it several times already. The weather did kind of like went from not really cold and like vest weather to snow basically. So for me this is now kind of too cold to wear, but I will wear it again when it gets a bit warmer, but still like cold enough to have like some wool on you. Do you like the yarn now? Okay, camera cut off again. But as I was saying, I really did not enjoy knitting with this yarn, because I did mention it in my previous episode, which I filmed like 2 days ago, but it has a lot of spinning oil in it and you can really feel it on your fingers, and I cannot explain the way it feels, but it's not really nice. So when I finished this project and I ended up washing it, the water turned black. It was crazy. So I ended up like putting like really hot water with like some wool soap and also some dish soap in it, and that really helped like get rid of all the spinning oil. But it was it was intense, and I ended up like doing that 3 times, I think 2 or 3 times, and then I put it in the washing machine because I'm a daredevil. I'm kidding. I have like a wool washing program on my washing machine because it's quite a new washing machine, and I had some other wool bits I had to wash, so I just put it in there with some wool wash, and it is now quite soft actually. I don't think it deserves the name super soft because there are quite a lot of yarns that are a lot more softer than this, but it did soften quite a bit when you compare it how it was when it was on a cone. So my vest. Yeah, I really like it, and I really want to make it in more colors now. So I'm kind of like hesitant if I want to knit the same pattern, because I do like this pattern, but I also do like the idea of like a vest with like cables or some lace work or something like that. I also did think about making the staffin vest instead of making the sweater, but the thing about vest patterns is that they often go like a little bit over the shoulder, and construction wise I would like my vest to be like this, if that makes sense, and not go over my shoulder too much. Like this does go over my shoulder a little bit, but like not too much. This one is like my limit of like how much over the shoulder it can go, and I do find that such a bummer because I see so many vest patterns that I really like, but I just don't like the construction, and I'm not like confident enough to hack the pattern and knit it in a way that this bit will be shorter, because I will be too afraid that it will not fit me on the bust. Maybe in the future, but for now I think I'm going to knit some more basic vests because I think they're just a great basic to have, and I don't think they like ever go out of style really. Like I think this is such a good garment to have. Same for like all of my wool sweaters basically. So yeah. Okay, we're back. I changed the batteries. Oh, you know, you've been rambling for too long when you need to change the batteries, because it was full when I started filming. But yeah, I think I've said enough about this vest. Really like it. I also have some holes super soft left in the color cinnamon, which is not really brown, it's more like my hair color, I think. And I don't know what I bought it for. I bought it, I think it was like my first purchase at Stephen and Penelope, and I wanted to make a shawl, I think, but then I realized that I didn't buy enough because I was still like really new to knitting. So at first I thought I might try doing a lentil sweater, but I also do like the idea of a sweater vest in that color. So we will see what I will pick. Also, this is the year I really want to knit from stash, which I did do this year quite a bit, I think. I mean, I still did buy some yarn here and there, but I did not buy as much yarn as I did the previous year or the year before. So knitting from stash it is. So now I have a few things left to show, and I need to hurry a little bit because my husband will be coming home in like 20 minutes, I think. And even though I am like so comfortable with that man, with everything, I will not talk to a camera when he's here. So, but yeah, my next one is a little Sophie scarf. As I previously mentioned, I am not sure about me being a Sophie scarf kind of person. I just think they look weird on me. I think I'm not like stylish enough to be wearing these, which may be stupid to say, but that's how I feel. I honestly don't know why I made one, but I just wanted to have a go as well, okay? Like, let me have a go. I also knit another one for my mom this year, like the exact one in this combination as well. I had so much yarn left from the Maggie cardigan that the scraps I had were enough for like 2 hats and a Sophie scarf, and I still have some left, so that's probably my fault, to be honest. Anyway, yeah, Sophie scarf. I don't really know if I'm going to wear this. I will hold on to it until like the spring, but I do think if I don't wear it in spring, then I will probably gift it to a friend or sell it to someone on the internet. Because, you know, I do knit quite a lot and I only have so much space, and I also feel bad if this just keeps laying around and I don't wear it. I really want to join like the Sophie scarf club, but I don't know if I'm a Sophie scarf kind of person. But I will hold on to it for now. They do look so cute though, like. Oh, and this is knit with the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair and the Firring merino base in the color bottle green. So yeah. Then I also made some mittens, and I do think I cast these on like a really long while ago, and I did finish one in just a few days, but then I cast on the second one and I didn't realize that obviously they mirrored, but I didn't realize that. So I knit the same color work chart from the first one, and I also did the instructions for like the same mitt as I already done. So the thumb hole wasn't right, so I had to rip back. And then I think I made another mistake, and they were just laying around for the longest time until I decided that I wanted to have them finished. And I'm really glad I do now have them finished, because I really do like them. I mean, they don't look really nice with my green sweater, but look at them. They're so sweet. I'm not the best at color work, I think, because you can see the white yarn like through the dark green stitches, and I don't know if that's like something that I did or if that's just like a color work thing. I don't know. It's not too bad actually, like it's fine. So yeah, I really do like these. I'm so glad I finally have them finished, and they do fit perfectly. I have quite small hands, so often I have like a lot of space left at the end, but I don't. So, and now we go on to socks. quite a few, but not as many I was expecting actually, because I would consider myself like such a sock knitter, but this year was not the year of socks for me. So that's also some kind of like knitting New Year resolution thingy, knit more socks, because I do have like a whole box of sock yarn, and again, I don't buy much yarn, but when I do, it's often sock yarn, because I want to have that like yarn buying dopamine kind of feeling, but I don't want to spend like that much money on yarn, so I tend to buy like one skein of like hand-dyed sock yarn here and there. So again, I do have a lot of sock yarn. Anyway, this is the first pair that I finished. Well, not of the year, I don't know. I'm not going to show you them in like a particular order. I'm just grabbing them. I do know that most of these socks I have laying on my lap right now are socks that have been whips for so long. And a few of these had like the needles sticking out of them to knit on something else. So again, they have been whips for really long, but they are finished. Once again, I'm just going to mention it one more time and not repeat it for the other socks, but I often use 64 stitches, double folded cuff, shadow wrap heel, and then the like standard toe, I think, like the toe most sock patterns use. Sometimes I do use 60 stitches for socks, because I do find them stretching out and being a little bit too big pretty much all of the time, but then when they're like washed, they need to go over my heel, which is quite tight, but then I don't know, I do find it hard to like knit the perfect sock, but honestly 64 stitches, it just works for me, so I stick to them, even though I did knit some socks with 60 stitches and they do fit really nicely, so I might use 60 stitches in the future. Yeah, anyway, socks, what can I say? These are knit with a yarn by Long Yarns. I think they're called Super Socks. It is like a alpaca sock yarn, which I got from my little brother for my birthday like 2 years ago, I think. So finally knit up that yarn, yay. Then these were my birthday cast on, and these are the quilty cabin socks, and I really like them. Also, this yarn I dyed myself. I went to this yarn festival like quite a few years back, I think in my first year of knitting. I also bought this yarn for the sweater at the same place, or like at the same festival, but I also bought some things to dye my own yarn, and this is the yarn I dyed. I think it's like a typical Kim color, but yeah, really love these socks. Love everything with a quilt motif. So yeah, and I did cast these on the day, or like the morning of my birthday. And this year for my birthday we went to a theme park. Dutchies will know it, it's called the Efteling. And you have to wait quite a long time in lines to like go on a roller coaster or something. So I did a lot of knitting that day because we had to like wait in line, and I didn't mind because I could knit. And I also remember it being like the first day of the year where the weather was like kind of nice and it was getting warm, and I just had the best day, and these socks really do remind me of that day. So yeah, quilty cabin socks. Then I have a pair of Sunday socks. I don't know what yarn this is. I think it's yarn by No Frill, but I got it as a gift, or like as like a scrap from someone, and they didn't have the label anymore. These were quite the journey because I lost yarn chicken, so I had to rip back one sock, and it really didn't go well, and this bit is a bit too long and this bit is a bit too short for my liking. But this is also a project that was on my needles for so long, because like when something goes wrong I just need to fix it like right away, otherwise I really do lose motivation to fix it. and once I realized that I was going to run out of yarn, I just did lose all of my motivation. So yeah, these have been a whip like pretty much I think for almost 2 years, which is kind of sad, but I did finish them in the end. Yeah, at one point I just had so many projects, and I went on like a finishing projects kind of marathon or something. At one point I just wanted to finish like as many projects as I could, and these were also part of that like knitting session. And I think the ones with the green yarn that I got from my brother were also finished the same week. Anyway, these were also a whip for a very long time. Talked about these a lot, so I'm not going to talk about them any longer than I am now. But the yarn is a yarn inspired by Van Gogh paintings, and this one is inspired by his painting The Sunflowers. So yeah, not really my colors. I do like my earthy tones. I don't really like blue. So will I wear these? I don't know. They might go in my gift basket, but then I got the yarn from my husband when we went on like a little trip to this Dutch city, so I don't think I will give them away, but these will just be my like chilling at home socks. The leg is really long, so it is nice for colder days like today. Yeah, I don't know, these just always make me laugh a little bit, and I don't know why. Yeah, okay. And then lastly, I did finish these yesterday, so technically they're not a 2025 finish knit, but I did knit like 90% of these socks in 2025, so I think they count as like a 2025 knit. These are my Christmas socks. So these are knit with a West Yorkshire spinner yarn. It is a self-striping yarn, and it was like my first time using a self-striping yarn, which is so fun. I love it. And I used like a long yarns white sock yarn, like the wool socks, I think, as a contrast color for the heel, cuff and toe, which yeah, makes me like them even more. I don't think I would like having the whole sock like in this pattern, but now I don't know, they look really nice. They almost look like store-bought Christmas socks, if you ask me. And I did cast these on the first day of Christmas. Well, no, on Christmas Eve. On my way to a family, I cast these on, and I managed to finish the sock in like one day, and I immediately cast on the second one. So these were almost knit over a weekend, and I was about here, I think, yesterday, so I had to knit like a tiny bit and then do the toe. So I'm really glad these are finished and now ready for me to wear next Christmas. I remember saying in like my last everything I knit in 2024, I think, or my first podcast, one of these two, I remember talking about this yarn and saying, next time you see me around this time of year, I will have a pair of Christmas socks made. And I always remembered me saying that. So when it was almost Christmas, I was like, I need to make these socks because I did say that. Not that anyone remembers, but yeah. I also have this yarn in another base, like other colors. I think that one is called Robin and this one is called Gingerbread. I also have so much yarn left, so I will be able to get another pair of socks out of that, I think, like most definitely. So yeah, I think that's everything I knit this year. As I said in the beginning of the video, every year I feel like I didn't do that much knitting, but then when it's laying in front of you, you realize how much knitting you have done. So I'm also excited to finally be like putting away some knits, because some of these have been waiting in a pile to be filmed for this video. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video and seeing everything I've did this year. I do think the colors are a bit boring, so I need to spice up my color choices this year. I mean, I really don't, but I do want to use some more color again this year. As I said, I just kind of realized that I had a lot of sweaters in like the earthy tones, and I also have a lot of clothing in earthy tones, so I just needed some basics for my clothes. So I definitely did do that this year, and I'm just really excited for another year of knitting. I am going to tidy everything up now and put things away. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, then please do, because I'm really trying to grow my channel, and my channel is growing, but it's going really slowly, and it always has been that way, and I don't really mind actually, but sometimes it would be nice because making videos does take a lot of time. So yeah, again, thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!